I grew up on the southwest side of Detroit. I went to Redeemer, and our parents had us on the straight and narrow as much as possible, us three boys in my family. But my dad had to crack it on us every once in a while just to make sure we stayed right. And I wrote this about the local store we used to buy our clothing store we used to buy our uniforms for Redeemer, and try to get away with a little something a little more cool whenever we could. Difficult. So I'm heading over to Morris Menswear. I'm fully aware that the shoes I'm looking for better pass the dad test. I want the wicked kind, the blackest leather, white sole stitching, Cuban heels, leather soles, and heels. It's got to be leather, or you won't get the hoodish click of the heel, warning anyone in hearing distance of their impending encounter with a badass. And most importantly, they need to be absurdly pointed enough to be classified mistletoes or cockroach killers. That is, you could corner a cockroach and stab him into a corner with that point. Meeting those dashing standards, you can walk down Vernon with chest-inflating pride. You can easily be mistaken for a leading member of any local gang. You'll probably make women and children scurry and have any man fear looking anywhere but downward to the sidewalk as you swagger by, heels clicking. Though your Redeemer uniform of baggy blue polyester pants, faded blue ill-fitting shirt, and that nasty dark blue badly knotted tie may be somewhat of a giveaway. Still, the less sharp eye may confuse you for something other than a Redeemer boy when you go clicking by. Take them back now is as far as it got. Dad is a man of few words and very explicit directions with no confusion about the consequences of debate. From my earliest experience and recollection, we function with tremendous love and outward affection in my household, and the idea of respect for all that my parents direct us to do is a given. In our paternalistic culture, challenging Dad was a bad idea. The consequences were swift and most likely painful. Zero tolerance, that concept was clear to me from the age of reason. Dad was raised in South Central Texas in an area full of types that would encourage Dirty Harry to make his own fucking day. Dad knew the ease with which one could slide into the hoodish way and would not have any of us flirting with any part of it. So, dejectedly, I took my coveted status symbols back, forced to deal with life and the hoodly elements with my raw nerve and silent heels. Jesus. This is about probably the most distinctive piece of architecture the Southwest had for a long time, Tiger Stadium. And then I called it I See the Roar. I could hear the roar, that unmistakable roar, somewhere between 1,000 rambling rocks and a room full of orgasmic vampires. It would stop me in the middle of my homework or later in the summer under a bush in a game of hide and seek. My head would turn and my imagination would take me to the bleachers, screaming for Rocky Colavito to Parkwood or to Al Kaline in front of the 325-foot right field sign firing an inning-ending laser to home plate. My home was a city block away, but it might as well have been 100 miles, save for the roar. I love that roar. Even then, Tiger fans in this city were rabid. My brother-in-law Reno would have me mesmerized with his endless stream of Tiger stats and stories. 1950s replays they were, and maybe more vivid. Your imagination paints quite a picture when you let it go. Too often now, I fear, our imagination comes on a 52-inch screen and flat at that. Easily you turn it on, more easily you turn it off. My imagination was always simmering, needing just a little boost to fire up and repaint, or maybe even invent a scene. Bright and crackling, no commercials. So I could be immersed in whatever had my attention, then the roar, and off I'd go, my imagination billowing. Recently, I was at the Detroit Athletic Club, which sits, or rather, excuse me, presides over Madison Avenue in downtown Detroit. Comerica Park is a stone's throw away. You can see right into the eerie blue glowing left field stands from the DAC courtyard. On this night, the Tigers were sending the Yanks home for good, winning the crucial third game of the playoff series. Talking to a gentleman at the club outside, we were in mid-sentence when the roar came flooding along the buildings between us and the park. And as the roar subsided, A tear came sneaking out of my eyes. My imagination started to take me to the stadium. Tiger Stadium, not Comerica. When I looked up and saw the new park instead of my old, beloved stadium, I turned my head and went back, if only in my mind, to Tiger Stadium to celebrate, not the Tigers' victory, which was sweet, but the priceless memory of my youth and the magnificent power of imagination. And thank you. Last is what changed my life altogether. As a young guy, I met the woman that I eventually married, and this is how I met her. If I get choked up, give me a second, because I always do. I didn't mean just now. Maria in the red dress. It had to happen sooner or later. A woman whose beauty, strength, and passionate allure would stop my indecisive excuses to end relationships and the drunken, episodic substitutes for genuine and substantive exchanges of soulful love. Clear-eyed and not forgotten with the morning sun. And so it did. Unmoving, my eyes still on Maria as she danced, swayed, and as she swayed, her very long, dark, Mexican brown hair undulating across her partially bare back, and then across her red dress that furled back and forth at her outlined thighs as she danced in soft rhythm to the temptations. It was just my imagination. Her Aztec skin shimmered so very lightly in this warm, now too warm, dance hall. This, thank God, was not my imagination. This utterly gorgeous, sensuous woman with the dancer's long, thinly muscular, perfectly shaped legs was certainly right there in the same dance hall with me. When I finally approached her and stammered something out, she smiled. Good God, she smiled. That sunny smile. Sorry. She smiled, that sunny smile on that heavenly face. She smiled at me, my Southwest Detroit's appeal around. Smitten, goddamn smitten I was. Always I had imagined that my bachelor's life would continue to be a series of short-term romances or overnight encounters. My irresponsible, pleasure-seeking ways I thought would never allow me to even consider a relationship of substance until Maria. With the humility so common among our women at that time, but with the mighty strength of mind, heart, and soul that lay just beneath the surface, the latter combination was irresistible to me. Becoming a teacher in our city was her dream and goal, and she, of course, achieved it. My admiration could not have been stronger for this good woman. Being a part of Maria's life was all I wanted and needed, and to my good fortune one day, Maria accepted my proposal. By the time our children began in school, my life did an almost complete turnabout in recognition of the value in being the best life example for my young family. And though my example faltered badly at times, I am eternally in love and grateful to a beautiful woman named Maria. Thank you.